Today we're going to be reacting to What Did the British Ever Do for Us?
This is a highly requested video. Seems to be something about, inventions and some of that sort. So thanks to the people who suggested it.
Let's check it out. Here we go.
What did the British, ever do for us scientifically?
Apart from the sanitation, the medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation, roads, a fresh water system and public health, what have the Romans ever done for us?
Nice.
Nowadays, our education system regards the British as brutal colonists who enslaved populations, subjugated the world. Out of roughly 200 countries in the world today, the Brits colonised, settled or invaded about 90% of them. Which I think
That is still insane.
That's insane.
Or at least I think the Romans would think it was impressive. But
It is interesting that, maybe because it's so much more recent, but that is how people look at the British. But then like Romans and all these other empires, it's like, oh, cool, look at how much they controlled.
Yeah, it's got to be something with because you can still see the effects or whatever. Yeah.
better off without those bastard Brits. Now, as it happens, they may have some redeeming features. If you look at their scientific contribution, at least. Now, this is a slightly different video to normal, and I'm going to talk about the British scientific and technological achievements and inventions, even though I could mention trivial things like the British invention of some of the best countries in the world, like Australia, Canada, Singapore, New Zealand, America. Well, maybe not invented, but they were certainly highly influenced. Or even the only decent country in the Middle East, which is Israel, courtesy of Mr. Balfour.
Oh,
and many other countries.
That may have not aged well.
A great deal to be proud of, such as Malaya, South Africa, Fiji, Kenya, Botswana, Sri Lanka, India, all wonderful British creations. But we're a science channel, and we're going to look at science. Now, the list is long of scientific achievements, and I'm only going to look at the really big ones and some of the more important ones. Let's start.
This is interesting. You'd say, how old is this video? 2 years. The only good country in the Middle East. What about Qatar, UAE, like any of those, Oman? What about any of those?
Yeah, interesting little intro there.
Yeah.
I don't know, I found it very interesting in his beliefs.
Let's start with transport and engines. So the British invented the railways, steel tracks, railway locomotives. In fact, wherever the British went, railways followed. So they put in railways in Germany, India, South America, and of course everybody copied that. Then we have the modern
South America ones were because of the British then?
bicycle, initially called the Rover safety bicycle, apparently.
The Dutch should be thanking the British, that's for sure.
Chain drive, caster steering, and relatively small wheels, invented by the Rover company. In fact, in Poland, the word for bicycle is Rover. And yes, it's the same company that makes Land Rovers. Now, the British obviously invented the first engines, which was the steam engine, and that broke us free from back-breaking animal and human-powered devices. Now, while the British were inventing the steam engine, they of course had to invent the piston, and more importantly, the piston ring that seals the piston, a truly remarkable technological invention which is even now being developed further. And the piston ring is the basis for petrol engines and diesel engines, in fact, virtually every engine. So no Brits, no engines. Next, they invented the first engine-powered ships, obviously steam-powered. Ships' propellers, steel ships, the steam turbine, initially for powering ships, but now it powers the generators in every coal electricity generating plant and every nuclear generating plant. So that's about 50% of all the electricity that's generated today, all courtesy of Mr. Parsons. Then we have the jet engine. Yes, the Germans independently
That's what a
invented it.
jet engine looks
Then we
like
have
on the inside.
Scary. I don't know if I trust it anymore.
How do you invent something like this?
I don't know.
It's insane.
Jet engine. Yes, the Germans independently invented it in the Second World War. The turboprop engine, invented by the Brits, the first turboprop aircraft. So if you don't fly in an airplane powered by a jet engine, which was largely due to the Brits, it's a turboprop airplane, which was invented by the Brits. And of course, the turboprop is the basis of the gas turbine, which is used to generate another 20% of the world's electricity. We also have the modern car layout, front drive, transverse engine, independent suspension, CV joints on the front wheels. Before that, companies tried all sorts of arrangements. So, for example, the Germans famously had the engine and everything at the back, but since 1959, most cars use the Mini Minor equivalent. Ever been on a vehicle that uses steel wheels? Pretty uncomfortable. But don't worry, the Brits invented the pneumatic tyre. So it looks like the British have invented pretty much everything that runs on the road.
Okay.
They didn't invent the road, that's just about it. Well, actually they did. Tarmac roads, or tarmacadam, was invented by a Scot and a Welshman. Then we have steel bridges. And here's a very interesting one, the modern traffic roundabout in the 1960s. Now, you might think that roundabouts have been around since way before the 1960s, but the Brits had the inspired idea of changing the rules for the roundabout. In other words, yield to enter, which massively increases the efficiency of the roundabout.
So does that mean they invented it?
I don't know. He's saying a lot of things. And then sometimes I can't tell if he's saying that they invented it or they just made it better so that it's like what it is today.
Wouldn't that be innovating it, not inventing it?
Yeah, yeah.
Then we have the cat's eye reflector. Caterpillar tracks, which the Brits invented just before they invented the tank. So there's much more we could talk about in terms of transport technology, but we must move on to other industrial and technological stuff. Now, of course, Britain famously started the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th century, and it's debated why it started in the United Kingdom, but clearly there was something special going on that made that spark. And of course, it started in the textile and agricultural industry. In the textiles, they invented the flying shuttle, powered looms, the spinning mill for making threads. In fact, if you didn't have the Brits, you don't have the very fine modern clothing which we have now, which is also incredibly cheap compared with what it used to be. In the agricultural industries, there are all sorts of mechanical devices like the mechanical seed drill, the haymaking threshing machine, but also really important things like...
I think my favorite thing is the haymaking thrashing machine.
Me too.
Phosphate fertilizer production, selective breeding. But that's just the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. If you're going to have an Industrial Revolution, you need a big build buildings. And so the British gave us Portland cement, a revolutionary type of cement. Where would we be without it? Then we have things like steel boring machines, which led to the steel, the modern lathe, which is ubiquitous in metal cutting.
There's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Hyper accurate.
We've done other videos with especially in some Asian countries where we had seen kind of what they invented or just learned about it. And this video has already shown way more than a lot of the videos I think could ever show.
Yeah. I mean, in Asia, what would compete with this? China?
Yeah, China or Japan, maybe.
China invented a lot of stuff a long time ago.
Yeah, they got gunpowder.
Yeah, and pasta.
Yeah.
Machine.
Or noodles, I should say, which turned into pasta.
For
So now people say, pasta is not even Italian, it's Chinese.
Measuring things, the micrometer, for instance. You cannot have modern engineering unless you have hyperfine methods for measuring things. We have stainless steel, the production of polyethylene, very famous practice, plastic used in just about everything. The steel hammer for forging steel and making it much stronger.
How many people lost
the
arms?
Bessemer steel process, the first mass production of steel, effectively.
My gosh, they have to jump on top of it to lift it. So many people died in those factories.
For sure.
Lost limbs.
But maybe the British invented human rights.
Labor rights?
Labor rights, yeah.
Maybe.
Mass production of glass using the now ubiquitous virtually tin flotation method. All right, let's go a little bit electrical. So the first long-distance communication cables were invented by the Brits, the coaxial cable. This was used for underwater cables to link the UK to America and other places, the first intercontinental communication, the birth of the internet, in a sense. It was the first time that we could communicate all around.
In a sense. So that just means it just connected everywhere?
Yeah. And wasn't there another country we were doing that they claimed they invented the internet or whatever, or at least the World Wide Web?
Yeah, was it the UK?
Maybe.
Maybe it was that other UK video?
Yeah.
I don't remember. And we were like, oh, because it was like some British dude, I think.
On the world. The telephone. Alexander Graham Bell was a Scotsman.
We thought he was
Television,
American.
liquid crystal, cavity magnetron. You've never heard of the cavity? It's in your microwave, but probably more importantly, the first radars to a large extent used the cavity magnetron, which was a revolution. Then if we go a little bit medical, we've got CAT scanners, ultrasound scanners, the first town to have chlorinated water. How about the first electronic programmable computer to crack German codes in the Second World War?
Yeah.
Accurate navigation using highly accurate clocks, the chronometers, and the first workable atomic clock. Then we have the World Wide Web,
There
gas
you go.
stove, tin cans, and a really big one. I know you've been wondering where I get to this one. An alarm clock that makes tea.
What? Oh, there we go.
I could have added many, many more things, but let's go on to fundamental science, the stuff that all other science and technology actually depends upon.
Okay.
But before we do that, maybe just like and subscribe. How
You should
about
do the same
the
on our video.
discovery
Yeah.
of proton, neutron, and electron, the three building blocks of, well, neutron
I'm surprised
and electron.
they weren't all discovered by the same person.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why I didn't think of that too. That's you would have expected. How would they have discovered them separately then?
I don't know, unless it was like one at a time and they're like, actually, oh, I discovered the proton. Wait, there's actually something else, a neutron.
And I'm surprised, maybe this isn't the actual order, but I would have thought it would have gone, the proton and the electron would be discovered similarly timed, but that there's the neutron in between there.
Who knows with atoms and the molecules and stuff.
Atom.
The three building blocks of, well, frankly, just about everything, all discovered by Brits. And the Brits also discovered the opposite of matter, which is antimatter, by Paul Dirac. And more recently, the last particle in the standard physics model of just about everything, the Higgs boson, which was proposed by Peter Biggs. Now let's go a little bit bigger, but not a great deal bigger. The atom, the model of the atom with a hard nucleus with the electrons flying around, was essentially discovered by the British. And I'm being a little bit loose there because there is a famous New Zealander involved with this, but frankly in those days Kiwis were basically Brits. What about biology? Well, in my view, the two biggest advances in biology were both...
Is he saying...
The captions might be wrong.
But frankly, in those days, Kiwis were basically Brits. What about biology?
Biology?
Is that how he's saying biology? British people don't say it like that, do they?
I don't know what biology is, though, if it actually is a thing.
He might just be saying biology really weird.
Let's see what their things are.
In my view, the two biggest advances in biology were both discovered by Brits. The first one is...
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
biology.
it's biology.
Weird. Biology?
Is that how Brits say it, or is he just saying it weird?
To us, it sounds like biology.
Biology, yeah. I'm trying to think of like a British accent, how you would...
Biology?
Biology.
That might be the roughest ones we've ever done.
Biology. I don't know.
Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. And then you have the discovery of the structure of DNA at Cambridge University. Fundamental molecular biology, of which the whole DNA revolution has been based on. And yes, I know Watson was an American and Wilkins was a Kiwi. Anyway, of course, the discovery of the structure meant this explosion in growth of the whole DNA industry, effectively, such as DNA fingerprinting, now invented by the Brits.
Oh.
Now let's go back to more basic, very fundamental, and possibly more important medicine. We have antiseptics, antibiotics, vaccines.
Oh, this is the guy that started autism?
Yeah, literally
Dang
autism, and I mean, it's that's the reason there.
Can't believe this guy started autism. That sucks.
All three invented by Brits. But let's go back to physics now. So we have Newton's laws of
Can't wait for the comments to come in on that. I want to see.
Is that British sarcasm right there then?
We'll see.
motion, Newton's laws of gravity. Where would we be without Sir Isaac Newton? We essentially couldn't predict anything. Back on to the physics, the laws of optics and the way that radio waves travel. Light, the laws of electromagnetic propagation in signals and wires. Scotsman James Clerk Maxwell's. You don't have any mobile phones or computers or communication cables without Maxwell. And then we have electromagnetic induction from Michael Faraday's. If you don't understand magnetic induction, there are no electric motors, there's no electric generators. Basically, the whole backbone of the electricity system, you owe it to the Brits. Or in mathematics, and there are a lot here, so I'm going to pick the really big one, which is the invention of calculus. Yes, there was another guy called Leibniz who also...
They invented the worst class of math.
The math that you learn that you don't actually use, unless if you're doing engineering or something like that. I don't know.
My calculus teacher said, you'll never use this in your life unless you become a calculus teacher. I'm like, nice.
Nice.
I'm glad I'm here learning this right now.
Yeah.
invented it at the same time, but essentially Newtonian calculus is at the basis of a huge amount of advanced science of engineering. It's as fundamental as algebra and arithmetic. Now, this list is not complete. There are literally a zillion other things that the Brits have contributed to. Actually, there is just one more. The Flushing loo.
That's convenient.
Now, obviously, much
like
of
that
what
it
those
flushes.
British scientists did was based on other scientists from lots of other countries, and the Brits were just part of this magnificent thing which we call Western civilization. Of course, there were French and there were Germans, and the scientific development and advancement then spread to the United States and now to the Far East. But the contribution of the Brits were utterly fundamental on so many levels. Now, without those advancements, our lives would be short, harsh, and frankly, just bloody horrible. The world's population would still be about 1 billion, which is what it was in about 1800, rather than the roughly 8 billion that it is today without that wonderful science and technology. Now, if you add up all the bad things that the Brits may have done, the Amritsar massacre, the Bengal famine, and all the other bad things that happened, albeit only occasionally considering the attitudes of the times. But even if you add all those up, it's not a drop in the bucket compared with what has been achieved and the lives that have saved. How many lives, how many babies, children were saved by antibiotics and antiseptics, clean water, or the uses of electricity, communications and transport? Famines are effectively a thing of the past because, well, for one reason, we can ship food around from one place to another very, very easily. Now, look, it turns out
Unless if that prime country in the Middle East puts a blockade on the food coming in.
The whole world. Might be some famines this year because people can't get fertilizer to grow their crops.
I was born in England, and even though I'm an Aussie, so I am biased. But I don't think it makes sense to be proud of what your ancestors did or were unless there's some evidence that you carry on those ideas, values and traditions. But even if you don't measure up to those ancestors or other people's ancestors, it's just bad form not to appreciate what those people did for us. The contribution of the Brits was truly incredible, and we should all be grateful that they came along and did more than virtually any other group to pull humanity out of the appalling, difficult lives that existed before the 1800s.
Oh, he has one about what have Americans ever done for us.
That would be interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, I was curious to see like what the American version of this would be, and like certain, like some of the things he said, like, oh, they invented this part of this invention, but like a lot of times in the US we get taught like, isn't it taught that America invented the car?
I think, yeah, Ford.
Yeah.
Ford.
Or they at least the mass-produced car.
So I guess there's probably a lot of situations where America couldn't have done a lot of the things they were able to do without the British part that was invented first or whatever.
Or then like
Or the
airplanes were invented in the US, but then the jet engine was invented in the UK. So mash those together, we got modern planes.
And then a lot of the sciences that maybe helped understand and led to the invention of flying also.
But America invented the nuke, so that's the best one.
Oppenheimer.
See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.
Bye.